tēnā no tātou katoa, I tai mai I whakarongo ngā kōrero I te ahi nei, nō reira a tihei wā Maori ora. Ko emi te maunga, wangaro o te awa, mā tātua te waka, taku ingoa, ko Bryce Smith. Kia ora tātou. This afternoon's topic that we wanted to talk about has come about through several inquiries from Pakeha, if I can explain that situation that they are currently in seeking a status or recognition of that status of being Pakeha here in Aotearoa. And because of the coming census 2023 and the removal of Pakeha some time ago off the census, and some of the heartburn, I'll say, that has caused for our Pakeha people here in Aotearoa. Statistics New Zealand currently have said they would look at the matter. Dame Anne Salmond is said to have commented about the status of Pakeha giving genuine status to a group of people that reside here in Aotearoa. That's included in the link. If you can take your time and look at that, there has been quite a significant contingent of people who have lobbied the government to get that status included in the census for Statistics New Zealand. The reason why Pakeha was taken off the New Zealand census, given the only box they have to tick now is New Zealander, and that has caused, as I've said, a little bit of dismay for those people. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to offer a opportunity for Pakeha, given that the current government and the past governments removed Pakeha from the census, and in regards to He Waka Putanga o Te Rangatiratanga 1835. What I'd like to do is I'd like to read a small quote from the 1835 document that has a clear responsibility for us as Tangata Whenua, and our responsibility of how our relationship is to look for with Pakeha that reside here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote, firstly read the original reo that's used in the document, and then I'm going to give an explanation of what that is saying. Not a translation, but an explanation of what that means. So, in Article 4 of He Waka Putanga, there's a quote, and it says, "Anō te mea ka atawhai mātou, ka tiaki I ngā Pakeha, e noho nei, I uta, I rere mai ana, ki te hoko hoko." The first part of that quote, and that we will foster and watch over Pakeha. That's a responsibility of the He Waka Putanga document. And those that settle on our shores, and those whom come to trade. That's stated in Article 4 of the He Waka Putanga document. So what I'm going to offer in the context of the 1835 documents and its ability and its standing globally, as far as I'm concerned, in an attempt to use the document and put the document to action, and in particular the concerns that have been raised by Pakeha that have resided here since 1769. They have ancestors that are here. Questions that have been asked is, what is the true meaning of the word Pakeha? Possibly the 60s and 70s have led to the kupu Pakeha being very derogatory, and a word that, and an understanding that doesn't fit well with the true understanding of Pakeha. If I can offer, the Kaeo Office has a YouTube, and there are discussions on that YouTube with Pakeha who are wanting to get a better understanding of their status here in Aotearoa. So I want to offer this because the question has been asked, what will it give us, or what will it give me being a Pakeha? Because my offer to you here this afternoon is to say to you, Pakeha does not exist here in New Zealand. So I'm going to encourage you to consider ticking the Tangata Whenua box or Maori box on the census, or however they describe it. But because, in fact, if we go into that dialogue, we'll find that our tupuna of 1835 included you in an international document. And we have a responsibility to chiaki and manaki you. So in that status, this is what I'm here doing right now, is to offer consult as far as manaki and chiaki. And if we go into the depth of those words, of those kupu in the document, that the understanding as it was in 1835, that makes it appropriate for me to sit here this afternoon and deliver this message to you. So the question, what does this give me if I tick the Tangata Whenua box on the New Zealand census? So amongst other things, and amongst a lot of things, it'll eliminate a lot of the concerns that people are raising with that. If you go into the link on here, you'll see Dame Anne Salmon talking about it, and the 11,000 Pakeha that have lobbied the government to put Pakeha back into the census box. So there are a lot of people concerned and passionate about being who they are. So one of the things I would like to offer that you would get out of this is you would get access to what we call whakapapa, or access to your ancestry that came here from the 1769 contact right up to the 1852 settler government constitution, if I can say it like that. Now, that gives you a heritage. The next thing I want to offer you, if you were to tick the Tangata Whenua box, because I as Tangata Whenua do have these as pleasures for myself, being Tangata Whenua, it gives you an estate or a place of belonging, and within that place of belonging and within that estate you have what we call a Pepeha. You have access to a river, you have access to a mountain, you have access to a coastal marine area. You get to enjoy those pleasures that we as Tangata Whenua do. You also get a language that's unique to Pakeha. Pakeha have their own dialect of language and their own dialect of responsibilities. You actually, you also acquire your own culture. Pakeha has its own culture. Prior to being included in the international document, He Whakaputanga o Te Rangatiratanga, you were simply settlers, and because of our culture, you had no standing in the global scene. You were settlers, you were migrants, and you were those things. You could have even been considered refugees, but you didn't have a history, you didn't have a culture, and you didn't have a foundation to stand on. So my tupuna graciously offered the word Pakeha for those people that came here and intermarried with Tangata Whenua that were here. And that brief discussion can be found again on the Kaeo YouTube, Kaeo Office YouTube discussions, where we're talking to Pakeha about the perspective of why it is they're so concerned about not being identified for who they are. Another attribute that you would enjoy is protection. You get access to a type of tikanga, and what I've just read to you from Article 4 of He Whakaputanga o Te Rangatiratanga is those authors that wrote that document were immersed in tikanga, and this is a type of manaki. As it says, we will chaki you. Chaki, go and do some research on that kupu, ask some of the elders in that rohe. This protection, so if I give a scenario where your ancestor arrived and resided, or more to the point, where your ancestor is buried, gives you that protection of that estate, of that language, of that whakapapa. So in the census, as far as Tangata Whenua is concerned, we have to resort back to an iwi authority. I have my own opinion about that, but that iwi authority doesn't have any jurisdiction in my tribal rohe as far as my Pepeha is concerned. Another pleasing pleasure that I'm going to share with you is access to mātauranga Maori, or mātauranga, the baskets of knowledge that came down through the philosophies of our existence here on the earth. So that gives you a social, cultural, political, environmental and economic structure and political structure at that, a social structure at that. In my opinion, during contact and the initial comments that were made and sent out to the world that Tangata Whenua Māori were savages, what was very quickly exposed, what they had a very, very prolific social, cultural, political, environmental and economic structures in how they were operating, in some cases more superior to other cultures, including the culture that arrived here. If we look at the England at the time, they had their issues. We had the French Revolution going on. We had the American Civil Wars going on, and England was suffering from industry failure. And so they needed our whale oil to prop that up for them. So, our economic system, when they arrived here, and our social, cultural, as I've said, wasn't suffering from any of that. So you would get access to those philosophies as well. And in that protection also, keep in mind that it may not be significant or important at this particular point in time, but the fact that Pakeha is written on a recognised international document. The word Pakeha is found in Article 4 of He Wakaputanga, or Te Rangatiratanga, 1835. And that document, as we all know, is giving everybody grief. That needs to be acknowledged. And that's what we hold on to. And that's what does exist. So what I'd like to share now, when you sign that Tangata Whenua box as being Tangata Whenua of Aotearoa because of your Pakeha status and under our manaki and our tiakitanga, you now position yourself as our treaty partner. Our treaty partner in Te Tiriti o Waitangi was not a company, it wasn't a government, it was people. And Pakeha are those people that we're talking about in being our partner. So as a request, if you did consider ticking that box of being Tangata Whenua here of Aotearoa, doesn't matter what colour your skin is, but if you have an ancestry that takes you back to 1769, between 1769 and the 1852 settler government constitution, these are the people that my tupuna were talking to. Those people that resided here and their descendants that are here today, concerned about why we don't have that status of being Pakeha. So I'm going to say that you are my treaty partner in the status. So position yourself as a treaty partner, spend time reading here the Te Tiriti o Waitangi, get to understand it intimately and take up the responsibility of being a treaty partner to Tangata Whenua Māori. That's the offer I have for you here. So just to cap, bullet point the things that I've wanted to deliver, there's a link here. There are people out there working diligently trying to get Pakeha back onto the census, to give them a status, to give them a standing. I can validate that by quoting you Article 4 of He Wakaputanga, or one of the quotes within Article 4 of He Wakaputanga or Te Rangatiratanga 1835. I've given some brief explanations on some of the pleasures that you will enjoy. It's normal for a Pakeha to say, what will that give me? And that's okay. This is what we've come to enjoy about our Pakeha whanaunga, is you get access to whakapapa, you get access to an estate and a Pepeha, you get access to your own culture and your own language, because we allowed you to exist here as a treaty partner. You get protection of tikanga, and you get access to mātauranga to build on your own social, cultural, political, environmental and economic structures for yourself. And don't forget, you are recognised internationally. You may not be recognised here domestically in New Zealand, but in Aotearoa, where I reside, you are definitely recognised. My tupuna gave that compliance and responsibility to those of us who understand the He Wakaputanga document intimately, and it's my responsibility to advocate that here to you this afternoon. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you understand we don't have long, or you don't have long, to comply with the pages and pages and pages. I went through the census philosophy just last night, and there's pages and pages and pages of explanations on the different things that you have to give to Statistics New Zealand for them to to analyse what they use those statistics for. So in saying that, I wish you well, I wish you the best. Nō reira huri noa, a tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. A tēnā no tātou katoa. Kia ora.